wagered my Jirachi on the battle.
Yeah, it was like a Latios versus your. I don't think you had any legendaries.
It was a Latios versus my Aggron. On what am I supposed to do?
Tell us more about how you segued into the competitive Pokemon scene.
And now that I'm too low, it's about time to start going up against people who are really good, like some bigger names. So I'm running into Chemo, Riley Fractura, Ragov, and I'm beating them. I'm just shocked. My goal was to play my game, follow my instincts, and make them play me.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Skill Link podcast, where we talk to competitive players, content creators, and all voices in between who make the Pokemon community incredible. Today's guest is a special one. It's my cousin. He is a 2017 regional champ. He's also got a top 16 and top 32 placements additionally, and 6th place in the Ever Grande League. He's also the Season 2 champion of the DSG Draft League. It's SnoozeVGC. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going so good. Wow, what an intro. You make me sound so much better at the game.
I love it, dude. The rap sheet, the achievements just go and go and go, and you're like, wow, I did all that. That's cool. That's awesome.
It's going really good. I'm stoked to be here. I love being on podcasts and just talking Pokemon. In my local community, I am like the farthest away that you can be from like the scene. Like they're all up in Salt Lake, and I'm like way down south. And so, I only make it out to a couple local tournaments up there a year because it's just such a hassle to get up there. It's like a whole long, like the whole day investment for these tournaments. So I don't get to talk Pokemon with anybody. So I love being on Pokemon podcasts just to talk Pokemon.
Yeah. Sweet. That's what we're all about, man. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this. And it really is just fun to be like, hey, want to come on for like an hour and we'll just talk about, what you do, talk about, your favorite sets, your favorite, builds, or, just like just random stuff like that. But yeah, no, I get that. I used to be obviously in Utah. That's how Logan and I know each other. And I totally get that. If you're not close to downtown, like if you're down past, for those who aren't from Utah, you're not going to get this lingo. But if you're down past the point of the mountain, like further south than that, and you have to go up past that, it really is a whole day investment. So I totally get that. But so sweet. Well, yeah, we're super excited. Obviously, Logan knows you really well, but I don't. So I just have a couple kind of get to know you questions to kind of learn more about yourself, and then obviously we'll kind of dive right into your achievements, what you've done, your teams, some of the crazy stuff that you've done over the years, which we're excited about. But yeah, I was curious, what kind of other things are you into? Any music, movies, shows, anything that particularly inspires you, or anything else you spend your time with?
Outside of Pokemon, I am an avid skateboarder.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I'm a
That's sweet, dude.
I skateboard religiously. It
dope.
Is like probably my biggest hobby that I do. I do it like every day for multiple hours a day. It's to the point where I've even now opened up my own skate shop and my own skate brand. And so I spend a lot of time working on my skate brand and my skate shop.
Yeah.
And then I have a second business that I do with my wife where I'm a videographer by trade.
Yeah.
So we have a media business where she's a photographer, I'm a videographer. And so we get hired to do things, like weddings, city events, things like that. And that's kind of what I do in between everything else. So those are like some of my biggest hobbies, and I love doing all that stuff. It's kind of funny because like I skateboard and it's like my favorite thing to do, but like I'm from a town where there's like less people than like cows and dogs, and like sidewalks are just, they might as well be part of the road because they're so messed up. And so it's like I picked a bad place to want to do this hobby. Luckily though, we got a skate park this year that opened up about a month or two ago, and that's been like a childhood dream come true.
Oh,
just
nice.
Like live down the road from a skate park.
Okay, I was going to ask if you had a park nearby to at least enjoy. That's cool.
It just barely opened up. It was like a whole big thing. We're so stoked on it.
Sweet. So I'm sure a lot of people close by are pretty psyched about that.
Yeah, stoked.
Nice.
I remember growing up, we had like, it was like, I don't know, was there an old skate park, if I remember correctly, down there? Yeah. Or like, because I remember there was that one.
That's what you want to call it.
It was like that one we would go and you go and do some stuff there, but that was like it. So it's awesome to hear that you got your skate park now and that it's nice and it's looking like it's doing well.
That park was like, I don't know if you remember, it was like right behind the fire station in between Pioneer Park, and it's basically like a 40-foot long, 10-foot wide slab of concrete with like the most janky, terribly put together like metal ramps, like really, really bad. It's not even there anymore. Like it hasn't been there for like 10 years.
No way.
It was so bad.
That's hilarious, dude. That's dope. That's cool. It's fun to hear about your other hobbies. Do you do any like longboarding or anything like that? Or are you strictly skateboarding? Or...
I strictly skateboard.
Okay.
Because when I get on the board, I don't really just cruise. I like to do tricks. I like
yeah, for sure.
So you can't really do that on a longboard. People that just love to just like flow and like go and carve,
mindlessly do that. Yeah,
mindlessly push around town. Like that's longboarding is like totally like for them. But if you like to hop around and jump around and do tricks like that, you don't really get very far as far as you do on a longboard. But
you look cool though.
You look cool doing it.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I don't really do that. But yeah, I just skateboard, and
that's dope, man.
That's how I try to stay fit, try to stay right.
Right. That's cool. I was gonna say, I'm sure it helps you get outside a lot and stay active and everything. So
yeah, it's been great.
That's cool. And curious, what are like how did you get into Pokemon? Like, grow up playing any of the games? Did you collect cards? Did you watch the anime? What did that look like for you?
I think most of us started with cards and anime.
Yeah.
You would have Pokemon cards. I don't even remember like when I would get them or how I would get them. It was probably like I'd get them as gifts or just people would give them away. I probably stole them from Logan's house, to be honest.
Nice.
And then, I'd always watch the anime. My brother would, because we didn't always have TV. My mom was one of the people that they would go through stages of having cable and then not having cable. Yeah. And so when we had cable, my older brother would record Pokemon episodes on VHS tapes for me and then give them to me for my birthday. So I maybe watched like the same 6 episodes of Pokemon 1,000 times. Like I know like the whole Kangaskhan
arc
episode like by heart.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I had like the old, I don't know if you remember, like on Game Boy Advance, they had like the little cartridges that had like 2 or 3 episodes like loaded into them. Have you guys ever seen those?
Uh-huh.
They had it for like all like the TV shows or whatever, but I had a few of those, and I had a Pokemon one where it was like a couple random Johto episodes, and I remember looking them up later on. Okay. They weren't even like, they were in the same season, but they weren't even like adjacent episodes or weren't even part of the same arc. They were just like hodgepodge onto that, and I just I watched those 2 ones. Together. Yeah, I don't think I ever even saw
number 5 and number 18.
Yeah,
get him on there.
I don't think I've ever actually watched like beginning to end a season of Pokemon between Kanto and like Hoenn. Advanced battle. It was always like I saw like 6 episodes from the Indigo League, 6 episodes from Advanced Battle, and so it's like they're always out of place, and so I don't know half the time what story was going on or where they were or what was happening.
It was just happening.
It was just happening, and I was there for it.
I love that.
And then later on, I got a Game Boy Color, and my first game was Silver version. And did you have gold? You had gold version, Logan.
My older brothers did. I got Crystal later on, but I think but
me and Logan always had like the opposite versions, and so I started with Silver. That was my first one on the Game Boy Color, and I played that one. I still have it too. I've kept that one like my whole life. Same with my Emerald version. I played that game so much, and that really started like my love for Pokemon was Silver version. I started with Cyndaquil, who to this day is still my boy. That's my boy, Cyndaquil. I think we all like our first Pokemon is always like going to be our favorite one. And so I started with Silver, and then me and Logan whenever we would get together for family reunions or for anything like birthday parties, we'd always end up battling each other and like wagering our rarest Pokemon on it. And one time he stole a Jirachi from me that I got.
Nice.
We wagered my Jirachi on the battle, and he stole it from me. He took my Jirachi.
Yeah,
I held up.
I
I mean, I could have just not traded it to him, but I'm a respectable trainer, so I had to follow through on my wagers.
You did. I think we had it for. I remember that my oldest brother like had it archived in his Sapphire game for years. But then I think eventually we were like, that was kind of because I think it was like a Latios versus your. I don't think you had any legendaries.
It was a Latios versus my Aggron. They were the last two Pokemon. What am I supposed to do?
Eventually, I was like, okay, well, we should. Like, we're like, let's get that back to him because that wasn't quite fair.
Like, I feel bad about that. Actually, let's reverse that transaction.
You had it for years, like years and years. You had my Jirachi.
That's hilarious.
I got that
dude.
from like the limited, like, because you had to have the Pokemon Battle Stadium. What was it? It was
Coliseum?
like the Coliseum.
Yeah.
You had to have like the special bonus disc.
Yeah.
And I went to a birthday party where he had the disc, and he was giving all the people that came to his party a Jirachi.
Dude,
and so
that's
insane.
And
so it's like just by chance I went to a party that had a bonus disc.
Yeah.
And I was so stoked on it, and then Logan just took it out from under me. He ripped it from my hands.
Ouch. That's brutal, man. That's heartless. That's hilarious.
We're good now. We're squared out.
He's like, no, actually, all these years later, I'm still holding a grudge. And now,
and you took my shiny Spinda too.
Yeah,
shiny Spinda, dude.
Literally my only shiny like I ever found ever. I don't find shinies, and I found this shiny Spinda in the car when it was dark, like on a drive. So I didn't know it was shiny. I just didn't have one. So I caught it, and it turned out to be a shiny one. And then I don't know why Logan took it. I think maybe I was restarting a game, and I was like, "Hey, will you take my shiny Spinda so I don't erase it?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then never came back.
Dude, that's funny you say that shiny Spinda, because even with all the hours I put into like every generation of game, I haven't run into that many. Obviously, in the older gens, the shiny odds are just asinine. But
I mean, anybody can find a shiny. I mean, my first 10 minutes of Scarlet and Violet, I found 2 shinies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's nowadays the shiny odds are ridiculous.
But
I was gonna say with the Spinda, so Emerald, same thing. Because I mean, you know how with Spinda, every all the spots and whatever, this pattern is different. It has all the variations. So I ran into a couple, and then I remember like within like the first 5 Spindas, one popped up and it was with green spots, and I'm like, oh, this is obviously just like a different kind.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was just like, I caught the first one already, and then after like 12 more Spindas, I was like, that something's not checking out here. And then sure enough, I just wasted that Spinda with like my Swellow or something. No. But anyway, that's funny you say shiny Spinda because that's hilarious, dude. So I want to ask you as well, now kind of transitioning a little bit towards what you've done. Tell us more about how you segued into the competitive Pokemon scene. Because obviously, I'm sure you kept up with the subsequent generations of games and everything like that. So what did that look like?
Well, I played like literally every version.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 2012, 2013 that I had kind of known about at that time it was like Pokemon Online or something. Like it wasn't called Showdown, it was something else, and I had been like on that, but that was singles, and I thought that's what competitive Pokemon was all singles. And it wasn't until like just by chance I ran across the first official Pokemon stream that they did of the World Championships, where Ray Rizzo won his 3rd world title. And I was just, after that, I was just kind of like, oh, the 3-time, like even somebody who, for the first time ever seeing who Ray Rizzo was, just hearing that he won it 3 times in a row, I was just like, I want to do that. I want to win worlds 3 times in a row. That sounds so cool.
So sweet.
And that's when I started kind of looking into like what official Pokemon battling even really was. And that's when I found out it was doubles. And then from then I kind of just like played doubles exclusively because I wanted to be really good at the official circuit so that I could compete in those things. And so, I mean, I played like my first like actual tournament that I went to was in 2016. So from like 2012 to 2016, I played pretty much exclusively online and found out what Showdown was and how they had double formats and how they supported that. And so I just played on that like over and over and over and over and over again. Like all my free time in the car, everywhere was just playing Showdown. And so then I finally was to the point where I was like, I can like take myself to these tournaments now, because my parents, they're not going to drive me to go play Pokemon. And so by the time I could drive myself, I'm already older, and I'm pretty much, I'm married at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am old. I'm an adult. I can do what I want. And
I can play Pokemon professionally.
I can play Pokemon professionally. And so I went to my first tournament, super scared, brand new. Everybody there is already like knows who everyone is. They probably been showing up for a long time. And 2016 at this point is pretty much over. We're about to transition into 2017. And so I'm playing, like, I'm starting jumping in on a format that everybody else has pretty much already mastered. But I ended up doing good enough where I felt like, hey, like I can hang with these guys. I didn't win, I didn't make top cut, but I was like, I was fifth, or something, and top cut was top 3. So I was like, oh, I felt good about that. I can do that again. And then I showed up to 2 more local tournaments in 2016. They were the last 2 that they were going to do, and I just got totally crushed. Like totally crushed. There was a senior player there, so he's only like 12, and he just like wiped me. He just
and you're like, dude, what am I doing?
I was like, dang, I just got beaten by a 12-year-old.
Oh man.
And so he wiped me, and I was like, oh shoot, maybe I don't got it. I don't have what it takes to really compete and do well. But the Utah regional got announced later that month as the new circuit was being announced. They were announcing everywhere their regionals were going to be, and the Utah regional was coming back after a hiatus. It'd been a couple years since they'd had one. And so I was really excited, because I was like, oh, like I can actually just kind of go to this. I don't expect to win, but I just want to go to a regional. And so I practiced really, really, really hard. And the hardest part with me for anything is figuring out what I want to use. So I'm a hyper offensive player. I like to play frail Pokemon that hit hard and die fast. And so I really wanted to find something that I felt comfortable with. And at the time in 2017, Pelipper had just got Drizzle.
Yeah.
And I always loved rain teams, and water Pokemon have always been my favorite Pokemon. And so Pelipper, and then the best Swift Swimmer in Sun and Moon was Golduck.
Golduck, yeah.
Nice.
Everything else sucked so bad. So Golduck was like the only thing that you could use, and with Z moves, it was pretty strong comparatively, because the power level of Sun and Moon was pretty low. And so I was like, okay, I want to use a rain team. And so for about like 3 months, all I did was play this rain team, and every 100 battles or so, I would go back and adjust the team to what it's not winning against and what needs to be changed. And over the time, I ended up coming up with my team that I brought to this regional. And we were on our way, me and my wife were on our way up to visit some family on the same day. There was an event going on. It was for my sister's kid. And I was like, can we just stop by the regional? I've already signed up. Like, can we just stop by it, and I'll just play till I lose 3 times? Because after 3 times, you're done. Like, you can't make top cut. You're finished. I was like, I expected to lose my first 3 games and just like continue on my way.
Right.
And so I was like, can we just go? And once I lose 3 times, we can just head out. And I was like, yeah, sure. That's totally fine. And so, so we show up to this regional. I'm totally expecting to just totally bottom out. Everybody from my locals expecting me to bottom out, because I just got beat, really badly. I don't think I won a single game in the last PC that I went to. And so my first game, I'm up against somebody from California, and everyone's saying he's really good. And I play, and I ended up beating him. And I was like, whoa, I totally thought I was going to lose that. And then like game 2, I smoke him. I just totally take him out, 2-0 him. And now that I'm 2-0, it's about time to start going up against people who are really good, like some bigger names.
Yeah.
So I'm running into people like Chemo, who's really well known. I'm running into like Riley Fractura, who's really known.
Yeah.
I'm running into Ragov, who's really known. And I'm beating them. You know, like I 2-0 Chemo, I 2-0 Riley, I 2-0 Ragov, and so I'm just shocked. And so I'd finish a round. I'd go talk to my wife, who's like dying in the corner because she's so bored. She thought she was only going to be here for maybe like an hour.
And here we are.
And it's been like 4 hours and I haven't lost yet. So I go tell her like, hey, I just won this round. I'm 4-0 now and I'm freaking out. So I'm just going to go like pace the venue. And so I'd go tell her that I won, and then I would just go like walk around the venue and just like and just like think in my head like, what is happening? What's going on? How am I doing this? I'm beating these, like I beat Riley Fractura, who literally won the last time Utah was a regional. He won it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to kind of like lose my mind, and people are starting to come up to me being like, who are you? Where did you come from? How dare you? You know, and like some of the Utah guys are coming up and being like, you were at the last tournament, right? And they're like, what's your record? And I'd be like 5-0, and they'd be like, oh shoot, like that's crazy because you suck.
That's crazy because there's no way that should be accurate.
Yeah.
Like no way.
Yeah. You know, and so then I just have to win one more round to basically guarantee that I'm going to top cut.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who it was against, but I win the round comfortably, and I've made top cut like officially. Like even if I lose my next round, I'm in. And so I'm freaking out that I have made it this far. And my next opponent is also somebody who's never won a regional, and he's also undefeated. And his name's Kyle, and that'll be relevant in a minute. And we and him fight, and we sit down, and he's like, oh, congratulations on making cut. And I'm like, you too. And so we know like this, there's no pressure on this battle. Whoever wins, it doesn't matter because we're both making top cut.
Yeah.
And so I end up beating him, and I'm 7-0 undefeated. I was supposed to be, I missed my sister's event because I was supposed to be there because it was going on. And I'm moving into top cut as the number 1 seed, and I'm totally shocked and like flabbergasted. All around me, I'm sitting at the table, like he got up and left after I beat him, and I didn't move. I just kind of stayed at my table, just kind of staring at my DS and like around the venue. And I'm hearing people being like, who's Preston Clark? Like he's 7-0, like who is that? And I'm hearing like the judges and the guys from my local being like, who made top cut? And they're like, oh, Preston Clark did. And they're like,
who?
Preston Clark? They're like, the one from here? Are you serious?
It's amazing.
You know, like, so I'm just hearing all around me people being like, who is this guy? Like, how, like, he just came out of nowhere and he beat like 4 or 5 really high level players, and now he's undefeated. So I go home, and I go to my sister's house where we were supposed to stay that day, and I'm like, we were gonna stay there that night because I have to show up for the finals tomorrow. And I all of a sudden, like, all of like the fatigue and stress from the day like finally hits me, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out because I'm so just wiped. So the next day I wake up early, drive to the venue, and I'm like literally like shaking as I'm like walking into the venue. Like I am just beyond stressed that I made top seed, and I'm going to lose my first game and be done.
Yeah.
And that it's going to be over. And I end up running into another Double Duck player, a Pelipper Golduck Rain Team player, and he has a different composition than I do. He kind of went for more of like a Rain Room team where he has a Trick Room option.
Okay.
With a Trevenant.
Oh, interesting.
And that's a problem for me because I was talking to him and he was saying, oh yeah, you know, my Trevenant in the rain can live a Z move from Arcanine. And
that's crazy, dude.
And it can live a Hurricane from Pelipper. And so I don't have any way to like, I have to double it is what I have to do because I have no way to kill it. My Arcanine's banded, and if it can live a max overheat in the rain, it's going to live a Flare Blitz. And so I'm kind of stressed about that. Luckily, he doesn't really play into it. And so game 1, we just kind of he leads his Pelipper, I lead Double Ducks because that's my only play into rain teams, was to outspeed them and out KO them with my own Golduck. And so I lead Double Duck, he leads Pelipper, Tapu Koko, and we kind of do this back and forth, but I end up being able to have better rotational positioning with the Pokemon that I brought, that I'm able to take that game. And then game 2, he switches it up a little bit, and he, instead of leading his Pelipper, he leads Trevenant with Tapu Koko, forcing me to pick either taking out the Tapu Koko and letting him set up Trick Room, or taking out the Trevenant and letting him kill my Golduck.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I go some obvious. I think there's no way I can win in Trick Room. The only moves I have on my Snorlax are Return and High Horsepower, and he has Will-O-Wisp and Horn Leech. He can outstall me. I can't win that. I have to take my chances with the Tapu Koko either protecting or just taking out my Golduck. So I double the Trevenant. He takes out my Golduck. And then it becomes a game of terrain between my Tapu Lele and his Tapu Koko.
And his Koko, yeah.
Tapu Lele is the GOAT, by the way. That Pokemon is so good.
It's so good. It's insane,
love that Pokemon. I think it was severely underrated on rain teams. And I think it provided a lot to my team. It was actually like a huge benefit to my team because of terrain. Being able to stop priorities like Fake Out, Sucker Punch, which is huge for people to stop. Like, because a lot of time they'll lead like Hariyama or something to fake out your Golduck, and you can just switch out Pelipper, bring in Tapu Lele, they can't fake out, and then you just blow them up with Hydro Vortex. So it's huge. Yeah. It was a huge thing, and so many Tapu Kokos, like Tapu Lele takes the 1v1 versus Tapu Koko every time, especially because my Tapu Lele was really bulky. It was a choice spec, super bulky, basically made to stop Tapu Kokos. So it becomes a terrain war. I end up coming out on top of the terrain war, and I'm able to basically just pick up the game from there. Like he has Tapu Koko, he has Trevenant, and he had a Buzzswole, and then his own Pelipper.
Pelipper, yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up being able to, take out the Trevenant, which was the biggest issue. Tapu Lele cleans up the rest, and then my Katana comes in the back and just can clean up whatever Tapu Lele didn't get. So I'm able to do that. I'm able to take that. And then, top 4 was versus Ragov. So this is a rematch. And this one I got really lucky in because he had a Mandibuzz, which is super with a Misty Seed and a Tapu Fini. So already not a good matchup for me. And I kind of stumble through game 1 and game 2, just solely relying on reads in game 2 to make it to game 3. And then game 3, I crit his Mandibuzz with Hydro Vortex, and I get Tailwind speed control, and I pretty much win the game from there. Like after he wasn't able to Snarl and Tailwind me to death, I was able to just kind of run away with Golduck, Kartana, and Tapu Lele. It's just, I was it.
Nice.
And so I took him out that way, and then finally, so I made it to the finals. I am about to throw up because of how I almost lost my top 4, and I got bailed out by a crit on the Mandibuzz.
Yeah.
And I'm going into top 4 versus my round 7 opponent, Kyle Hudson. And I was like, okay, I beat him before, I can do it again. Because his team has the better matchup versus mine. Yeah, because he has Gastrodon, he has Alola Ninetales, and a Gyarados.
He's got a Koko too. Yeah,
and so his team is just like way better matched up into mine, and I'm so upset because it wouldn't have been that much of an issue if I had just put like 12 more EVs into my Arcanine speed. Because I was like, gotcha. When I was making the spread, I was like, okay, what do I need to outspeed? And I kind of looked at some normal things, I was like, do I need to outspeed Gyarados? And I was like, nobody's using Gyarados. I haven't seen a Gyarados in months. Nobody's using it. I was like, it's just not very good. There's so many Tapu Koko, Tapu Fini, like it's just not good. And I was like, and if they do run it, they're gonna run it with Dragon Dance, so it'll probably be Adamant.
Right.
And so I made it outspeed Adamant Gyarados. And Kyle's was Jolly.
Yeah, but not Jolly Gyarados.
See, Kyle was sitting there on the other end going, what do I need to outspeed an Arcanine?
Yeah, he has the same thought process on the other side, right?
So I am like so I found out that my Arcanine was slower in our round 7 match.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm kicking myself because I'm like, if I was just this much faster, I could just wild charge this thing into an oblivion.
And it's a non-issue.
And it's a non-issue. And I don't have to worry about the Hydro Vortexes that it's going to throw out at my team because it's faster than almost everything on my team because it's Jolly. And so I was like, this is going to be a struggle. And the Gyarados turned out to be such an issue in the finals. So I'm like, so now whenever I do use Arcanine, it outspeeds Jolly Gyarados.
Nice.
So in the finals, game 1 comes down to a stall off between his Gastrodon and my Snorlax. And we didn't have team sheets back then, so I didn't know what it had. So I was like, oh, I win. I'm just gonna curse my Snorlax up and then just one shot this Gastrodon as it like throws Scalds at me trying to do something.
To burn something, yeah.
But it had Clear Smog. And so
so
I think I have game 1 in the bag. I'm like feeling pretty good, and I hit my curse, and so now I'm slow, and he Clear Smogs me the next turn, and then I just go, oh no, what am I gonna do?
And then his Gastrodon has recovered too, right?
So I'm like, it has recover, it has Clear Smog, it outspeeds me. I was like,
I can't beat this.
I was like, and it's gonna burn me with Scald. I was like, crap. I was like, I'm gonna lose. And I was like, I totally thought I just barely won this, and now I'm gonna lose. And somehow he scalds me like probably 10 or 15 times, and I don't get no burns.
Yeah, no burn.
And like I only have maybe about like enough HP for 2 more scalds, and I'm like, I got a crit here, or I'm done for.
And sure enough,
I ended up getting the
you
crit.
Got the frustration crit, dude.
I got the frustration crit, killed his Gastrodon, and I lived to see another day into game 2, which only lasted about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because in game 2, he brings his Gyarados and just Hydro Vortexes and just destroys my team, just dismantles me in game 2. And so now game 3, I'm like, oh no. I was like, I'm going to have to like try to make a read or something and to try to make a trade somehow. So game 3, I lead the same thing as game 2, I'm pretty sure. And I think he's going to Hydro Vortex into the Tapu Lele because I have terrain control. He's probably going to switch out Gyarados, take out Tapu Lele so he has terrain. And so, but he reads me. So I switch out Tapu Lele into Snorlax to try to take this Hydro Vortex, and he's blasting it into Arcanine. But this is where things get a little dicey. So I think this might be wrong, but Kyle ends up volt switching into Gastrodon.
Yeah, he volt switches on your Lele.
Yeah, he volt switched on my Lele into Gastrodon. And the reason why, and people are like, oh my gosh, why would he do that? He Hydro Vortexes into a switch-in of a Gastrodon and absorbs his own Hydro Vortex, saving my Arcanine and letting me kill his Gyarados and have like a huge advantage in the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And so people are like, why would he do that? But I think his reasoning behind it is he knew that Snorlax could start setting up.
Okay.
And so if Snorlax got even just one curse, if Snorlax gets one curse, it can take out Tapu Koko. It becomes a huge issue for his Gastrodon. It can take anything from Gyarados. And so I think what he thought was, oh, there's Snorlax, I'm going to switch in my Gastrodon to make it so that he can't set up and have a way to counter his setup. But I think that overshadowed his thought of, I also just clicked Hydro Vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I switch out, and there wasn't a camera on me, but I pretty much do this. when I see that when he's hydro vortexing into my Arcanine. I just kind of like look down into my hands, and then I hear, "No! Oh, I'm playing like a total noob!" And he's
Oh no!
and I look up, and he's like he's jumped out of his chair.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ah!" And he's like punching, like, "Yeah, what am I doing?" And I'm like,
oh my
"What
gosh.
is?" I don't know why he's doing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What is going on?" And then I look at and I'm seeing the animations, and I see it do the Hydro Vortex, and then nothing happens, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in it! I'm still
I'm
in
alive.
this!"
Because then you kill the Gyarados right after,
Yeah,
too.
because then I
Because
kill the
Yeah.
Gyarados.
Yeah.
Then you adapted well, and you took out the Gastrodon as well. You recognized the threat from before and made sure that wasn't an issue.
Exactly. So then it became a game of kill Gastrodon, because I kill Gastrodon, I win the game, and it goes back and forth. Kyle actually does a really good job trying to win some footing back, and it comes down to our final 2 Pokemon, and I'm able to. And it's like Tapu Lele is at like 75% health. I have a full health Arcanine, and terrain's in my favor. He has to hope for like a Thunderbolt crit onto my Tapu Lele, because my Tapu Lele can take that easily. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And it did. And so it takes the Thunderbolt, and I'm able to one-hit KO the Celesteela with Wild Charge, and then one-hit KO the Tapu Koko with Psychic, and win the whole thing. And that was like the craziest thing to me. My first regional ever. I just came off of like getting absolutely destroyed at my 2 locals to winning this tournament that like meant so much. And
that's so cool.
And like I walked out of my interview after the game, and like all of the Utah guys from the local like rushed me, and they were like, "Yeah!" And they kind of like mobbed around me like, "Let's go!"
Yeah.
Keeping it in Utah, they were all stoked on that, and it was like, and I felt so bad, because I was like, Kyle 100% should have won that.
Yeah.
He 100% would have beat me, because I wouldn't have been able to come back from that losing my Arcanine. There's no way I would have been able to take that back. And so I always feel bad that he ended up just making a misplay like that and gave me a door and let me pretty much win the game from there.
Right.
So that was crazy, but
yeah,
dude, just the total confusion. I was like, I lost, and then Kyle's like losing it, jumping out of his chair, and I'm like, what is he freaking out about?
And you look down and you're alive still.
Yeah, I look down, my Arcanine's killing his Gyarados.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was watching the video back earlier, and I was like, I mean, same kind of thing. I wasn't expecting that. I was, I obviously knew with the hindsight that you obviously won and everything. So I'm like, how is he going to do this? And then that sequence plays out, and I'm like, there it is. That's the pivot point. But like you said, to his credit,
I love the commentators are like, oh no, everybody was freaking out.
Such a good job. But like you said, to his credit, he did do a pretty good job of bringing it back and gave himself a chance. So
I mean, I think he really still could have beat me. If I could go back and change one thing about how I played that last turn, it would have been to click Flare Blitz instead of Wild Charge. I wasn't paying attention to the rain, and that was the last turn of rain.
Oh, okay.
And so Flare Blitz probably would have killed Celesteela anyways. But if I had Wild Charge Celesteela and the Thunderbolt crit my Tapu Lele, I don't think I would have been able to take out the Tapu Koko, because it was full health, and I'm hitting it with Wild Charges.
Yeah.
Because you're choice.
Yeah, because I'm choice. And so I was like, if I could go back and change one thing just to make it a guarantee, it would be to click Flare Blitz instead of Wild Charge, because I still could have lost if he had got that crit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's crazy. And the thing is, what's really cool is kind of see like you're walking us through that and seeing that the various ways of how you set up your team to kind of stick with the meta, be able to stick. And Double Ducks is such a fun kind of it's a classic 2017 strategy.
Dude. It's a staple in 2017.
It's and it was just cool to kind of, I mean, that's probably the only time Golduck is ever going to see the light of victory and glory.
Honestly,
right?
Yeah, it's not very good.
So
But so
funny.
that's awesome. Kind of get into some of your, you've continued to play past 2017. And so one of the things that, we kind of want to ask you is, what are some insights that you can give us as things have changed with VGC over the years? What's kind of the things that have stayed tried and true that you feel like for preparation or just kind of to be a player? And then, how do you adapt to new metas or even regulations?
Okay. Regulations is a good one because that's like a recent development in the competitive scene that is a very love or hate with a lot of people. But so it's kind of as time goes on, like especially after like you win like your first big tournament, it can be kind of hard because it almost feels harder to play because now you feel like you have to prove that the first one wasn't just a fluke. Which in my case, a lot of people really felt like it was. Because of how lucky I got with playing with Kyle. And so a lot of people kind of swept my win underneath the table as like he got lucky type of win. And so it became almost harder to play after that because I felt like I needed to prove something, whereas before I was just playing because I wanted to and I thought I thought it was fun. And now it's become I have to actually prove that I deserve to be here. And so that's probably like the worst mindset I think anybody could take. Because that really like put me in a place of I have to do good. I have to be better. I have to prove that I deserve to win. Instead of just being like, I want to play because it's fun and I'm gonna make and I'm gonna play with a clear head. I'm not gonna play with like, I'd go to these other tournaments like in 2018, I'm returning as the champion, and every battle is I can't lose. I won this. I need to win. And so every battle it becomes a, don't lose. You can't lose. Or else everyone will think that you're a fluke. And whereas before at my first tournament in 2017, every battle was, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm playing these people and this is so nuts and I won. This is crazy. This is so cool. And it's become more of like I have to do this. This isn't fun. This is go time. You have to prove that you deserve to be here or everyone else will be right that you got lucky.
Right.
And so that's been like the hardest thing for me to overcome is just playing my game. And so like whenever I went to the 2017 regional, my goal was to play my game, follow my instincts and make them play me. Like I don't want to play their game. I don't want to play their strategies of their team. I want them to play mine. And that was like my biggest thing was play my game. And so in the last recent years I've kind of stuck to that is play your game and make your opponent play your game. Don't play theirs, play yours. And it's easier said than done, especially if you're playing somebody who's really good, because that's their goal too, is to play their game. But a lot of it comes down to intuition and practice with your teams. So I play a lot of teams. I still, I play what I know. I play what's best. I'm familiar with other compositions, whether it be balance compositions, stall compositions, so that I have a general understanding of what they're trying to do with their teams. And then I take that understanding of what they're doing and then I apply it to how I play my game. So I still play hyper offensive teams. I still play aggressive play styles. I like to play combo style teams. So I usually have, 2 pairs that pair really well. And then the Pokemon fill in around that to help patch weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like that. They like to play. So like the most common thing is to play like balance because it can give you like the most options against a lot of things. But also the problem is with balance is you have to be really savvy with board positioning and you have to be really savvy with like predictions and safe switches. And it can be very easy for your opponent to kind of play off of them being safe because that's like their whole thing is being safe. Oh, my Pokemon's threatened. I'm going to switch into a resist. Like that's, and so it can be very easy to be like, on the other end, like I threaten their Pokemon, they're playing a balanced team, they're going to switch, and so I'm going to attack that switch and get ahead in the game. And so that can be really hard. And the reason why I think that's the most popular, I think, has to do with that, like, Wolf is like the poster child of defensive
VGC.
balance plays.
Yeah.
And that's how he plays. You know, he plays and I think people are like kind of forgetting that that's how he likes to play.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, he likes to play that way. That doesn't mean that that's how you should also play.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people forget that there's more than one way to play Pokemon, and it doesn't have to be the way that Wolf does it. If you like to play the way Wolf does, then that's fine, but you'll see a lot of people struggle with like, oh, I'm not winning with this team. I don't know how to play with it. I'm just not doing very good. It's not clicking. And that's when I suggest, like, well, how about trying something, a different composition? Instead of trying a balanced team, try an aggressive team. See if that helps better. And so I think sticking true to like what you're most comfortable with, what you know the best, while also being familiar with other play styles is the best way to improve at VGC over the years. And that's like, those are like some common principles that stay all the way, no matter what season it is, no matter what regulation you're in.
Yeah.
If you are still sticking to the foundation of, I like to play this way, how do I adapt that play style with the Pokemon available, and what is everybody else using, and how do I beat that?
Right.
And so that like really carries over into a lot of things. And so once you kind of get those fundamentals down of team preview, board positioning, your combinations and how they match up into the metagame, you can pretty much carry that into literally any season and any regulation.
Yeah.
And it becomes second nature at a point to even just take your team from the last regulation, play it a ton in this regulation, and then change a Pokemon or two or a move or two just to adapt to the new meta.
Yeah, no, it's just a matter of like slight course correction. That totally makes sense. Yeah, like see what worked for you last time, and then see what's working now, and see, hey, where can I just maybe tinker with something a little bit here and there. So no, I think those are really good, just general principles. I like those.
And like, so I think as long as you got those things down, team preview, your leads, board positioning, and then also I would say once you understand prediction versus like a prediction versus a safe play, like that also like really like can just catapult you into being a much better player than you are.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you quickly, tell us a little bit about like local tourneys being back and like the impact of that on players.
That's been huge. That's been like really, really huge. You know, because for so many years we didn't have anything. Like we've had regionals, but the local tournaments are like the heart of VGC. Like
for sure,
you go to these tournaments to see your friends and play with your friends and have fun. And at regionals, you know, you'll maybe see one of your friends there that have the time and the money to show up. But at the local tournaments, everybody's there. People that you haven't seen all year will show up, and it's like you have the most fun. It's also like the fun thing about locals is they're their own little metagame. Like when I go to my locals, I have to make sure I can beat Trick Room because there's like 3 people there that they main Trick Room.
That's so cool. A few people like run the little. That's so funny.
Yeah, and so I'm like, how do I beat Indeedee Armor Rouge? Because I know that Kyle and Chalda are going to be there, and they're going to be using Indeedee Trick Room.
Yeah,
and I have to be able to beat it. You know, and then how do I beat Cade? Because Cade likes to use aggressive teams. I got to make sure I have a way to match his Tailwind or have speed control over him. And so it's like you have these little local pockets of metagame that are so different to everywhere else.
That's so funny.
Because, you know, everyone shows up and they're like, how do I beat Rain?
Right.
Because Preston's coming to this one, and that's what he's known for is his Rain teams. So we got to make sure we have a Rain matchup. But that's like been so fun, is like just being able to go to these local tournaments again and just and like it's not even so much about like the championship points for Worlds. It's just more about like finally getting back to like what VGC is all about, which is like your local community there and building those friendships. Because once you start building those Pokemon friendships, like no matter what tournament you at and you'll see them, it's like you have like a friend there to like hang out with, talk about the rounds, and just like have a good time, which is what it's all about.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Really quick, we're wondering, give us some of your meta hot takes right now, predictions and predictions for the rest of this current regulation and maybe for the next.
That's a tricky one because the DLC is coming out this
dude.
week, and it's going to be a whole new regulation of Pokemon that are available. I don't even really know. I think it's out there. I think we know what's coming back. I haven't really looked at it.
Yeah.
But a whole new thing of Pokemon are coming in. The biggest one probably being Incineroar. And he's about to start running things again. And I hate that Pokemon.
Taking us back to 2000, 18, 19.
2018, 2019, 2020,
Yeah,
2020.
He won. I mean, it's won the World Championships in 2021. I think it was like after COVID. 2020.
It's the most used Pokemon. Is that right? VGC wise,
the only Pokemon to ever dethrone Landorus T. Landorus T. The god of VGC was dethroned by Incineroar very quickly in 2018.
That's so insane.
Logan, Jimothy Cool, he did a video like 8 months ago, ranking all the starters competitively. He did like design wise, there was like some tongue in cheek humor to it, but he's also talking competitively. And he had Incineroar like right in the middle of the list. He's like, it should be number 1 for its use competitively. He's like, I hated how you had to have it on your team because of how defining it was. But he's like, it should also be last because I hate it for that same reason. So I'm going to put it exactly in the middle on his rankings. And I'm like, that's the most accurate thing I've heard all week. So
I really, really dislike that Pokemon a whole lot.
Dude, a lot of people say that. It's so funny.
I mean, it's just crazy too because it won the World Championships in a restricted format. So it's competing with Groudon, Kyogre, Zacian, like all these like Pokemon that should be able to one-hit KO this thing. But it beats everything. People were bringing it to Kyogre games. They're bringing it against Groudon. They're bringing it to it doesn't die. It has the most like tricked out kit out of every Pokemon ever. Parting Shot, Fake Out, Intimidate, Fire Coverage, Dark Coverage, Snarl, Taunt. Like it can just do everything in the book, dude. It can do whatever you want. So that's going to be very quickly on top of the ladder. It's going to be the greatest comeback of all time, and it's going to totally shoot to number 1 as soon as it's legal.
Yeah.
But like as far as like this metagame goes, I think that honestly might be like the biggest change. So like with the Teal Mask DLC, we got a lot Pokemon back, but the only ones that actually showed up were Ogerpon.
Yeah.
Like we had all these Pokemon come back in this DLC, but there was only Ogerpon that actually made any sort of impact into this next metagame. And I feel like it might be something similar with this next DLC. We'll see Incineroar, maybe 1 or 2 other Pokemon, maybe. I don't think so. That are going to actually make a huge impact.
Yeah.
And that will change a couple things. Like we're going to see a war between Hisuian Arcanine and Incineroar users, because you would think that Hisuian Arcanine with its rock attacks would be able to do something against Incineroar, but Incineroar just doesn't care. You know, it's just going to fake you out. Yeah, it's just going to take the hit, and if they really need to, they can change it into a water type. And
that's true. Terra type with Incineroar is going to be nutty.
I mean, even like in Dynamax, like you would never hardly see it Dynamax, but every time you did see it Dynamax, you would just like, you wouldn't, what do I do? You're just like poking it with a stick. It won't die. It's so big. And so I feel like we might not see the Terras too often, but I think with Pokemon like Urshifu in the mix, with Rapid Strike and close combats, I think we actually might see it Terra more than you think to take those water hits and those fighting attacks,
right?
And just kind of hit back. I could even see it like turning into a grass type with Terra Grass, giving it a way to hit back. I don't know. We'll see. I think the current metagame that we have right now will probably be pretty similar. I don't think we're going to see a huge change besides Fluttermane going down one step to second place in usage and Incineroar being in first place. And we might even see like a rise in like Iron Hands to try to combat it with the fighting type attacks. Iron Hands might completely fall off because now it's being intimidated and faked out and parting shotted. So I don't know if that's going to work. We might see a lot more Iron Bundle because I think Iron Bundle is really good into potential Incineroars because Hydro Pump can just take it out if it's going to Terra into a grass or a water type. Freeze dry it. Yeah, really hard. I think Iron Bundle might make a comeback, maybe even just briefly, just as people try to test how to beat Incineroars. And so we'll see if it comes back or not. That's kind of like my hot take right now is Iron Bundle might actually make a comeback. Pretty useful between Hydro Pumps and Freeze Dries and just general speed control with Icy Wind with how much Tailwind priority we're having going on right now. That I think that might be something that kind of pops up. But I think we'll still see a lot of Urshifu. We'll still see a lot of Tornadus. We'll still see Fluttermane, Iron Hands, Ogerpon. Like I think we're still going to see a lot of those guys.
Nice.
I don't think we'll have too many changes, to be honest. VGC players aren't known to stray very far from the biggest and the baddest.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
That makes sense. All right. Well, we had a lot of fun talking about kind of your competitive side, all the knowledge and info that you got. We're going to kind of slip into our kind of fun rapid fire round. So we're going to toss you some questions. You're going to kind of give us, the things that come to the top of your head. And then after that, we'll slip into just some fun shower thoughts and wrap up.
Let's do it.
So for the first one is, what is your favorite competitive item or item competitively?
My favorite competitive item is Choice Specs.
Okay.
So good. It's so good, dude.
Specs.
Yeah. I think you just can't go wrong with that.
I have it on like every team. I have like a Choice Specs.
Yeah, dude.
So good.
I feel like, and I feel like, I don't know, in general, I feel like you just get a lot more, I feel like special attackers just have a general better move pool and coverage pool than physical attackers do for the most part.
I don't have to worry about being intimidated.
Exactly. Yeah, there's that. And I feel like with a lot of band users, I'm kind of painted into a corner with what moves you kind of just have to bring. Whereas with the specs user, get like your 1 or 2 stab moves, but then I feel like for your other 2 options, you just have so much coverage to play with.
Exactly.
I mean, like your Lele, I mean, it's,
it's
insane.
Favorite Pokemon. Love that thing.
It's so good.
Ridiculously powerful.
All right, next rapid fire I got for you are, what are some of your favorite, or what is your favorite competitive ability?
My favorite competitive ability, Psychic Surge.
Yeah. I probably set you for that one, didn't I? There you go, dude. There you go.
Don't do that.
A close second would probably be like Swift Swim or
There
Drizzle.
You go. Yeah. I would say anything just gives you some action economy that like basically substitute using a move is just going to be the best. I mean, instead of having to set terrain with a move, you just automatically set it with your ability. Instead of having to use a move to buff your stats, you just have Swift Swim in your speeds up. I just
really hate priority. I hate it so much.
It's the worst, man.
I hate being flinched from fake out. I hate being extreme speeded to death. I hate being sucker punched. Like, I just want to stop it all and play the game.
And you're good. Yeah. Play me straight up, man.
I love it. All right, and do you have a favorite underrated mon that you think has like a fun use or it feels a fun niche?
I really like Berserker.
Nice. Okay.
I told Logan about this the last time I saw him, but Berserker and Goldango are like my 2 favorite. They're like my favorite duo right now because Goldango, part ghost, steel, crazy good typing, can't get flinched, can't get status. Super crazy good move with Make It Rain, Choice Specs, Terra Steel. And then on top of that, I add Steely Spirit from Berserker and Fake Out support. So I have Fake Out support. I have boosting my steel moves. Terra can't get flinched, can't get status, and I can just like blow things up with Berserker.
I feel
Berserker also gets like close combat. So if they like are gonna switch in like a Heatran, which they do a lot, I can also just like close combat the Heatran and do like 80%.
That's insane.
It's so insane.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I would assume that Specs, Terra Steel, Goldango, Make It Rain with Steely Spirit would probably just OHKO anything neutrally, right? I mean, unless it resists it.
I've OHKO'd Cresselia's. I've
Right.
OHKO'd. What were some of the crazy? Oh, I've OHKO'd like Gyarados. I've OHKO'd. I've OHKO'd like
That's insane.
Ogre Pawns. I've OHKO'd Urshifus. Like if it doesn't die, it has 10 HP left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
Even like resisted attacks, like on like even like an Iron Hands or like a even like an Iron Hands with like an Assault Vest, a max power Make It Rain is still doing like 40%.
That's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. That's a great choice because I love Berserker is such a good mon too, just design wise.
And out of all like the Meowth clones and like versions, Berserker's like the best one.
Oh, for sure it is.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
100%. All right, we're gonna kind of slip into some shower thoughts now. So this isn't necessarily always competitive. It's kind of just kind of fun, Pokemon world thoughts, ideas, just kind of those things that we have when we're walking around thinking, Pokemon's our life, so might as well think about them more. So we're gonna get into this. So you are the Pokemon champion, and you can decide who takes place in your Elite Four. You can choose from gym leaders, previous Elite Four members, Battle Frontier members, or real life competitive players. Who are you choosing?
Oh, who am I choosing as my Elite Four? Okay, Steven's going to be one of them. Steven from Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald.
Yep.
He's probably my favorite champion is Steven.
Mm-hmm.
So Steven's going to be in there for sure. I mean, I could just go like totally unfair and choose all the other champions that are my favorite.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, you're the champion of them all, so they gotta listen to you, man. If you're making the call, champions.
I would love Steven. I would love Gold or Ethan, depending on how you know him. In my Elite Four, I think he's always been one of the coolest characters, and I always have a connection with that character because I started in Silver version. So I really like him. I would want the guy that stands at the beginning of every gym and says "Champ in the Making."
Yeah,
I want him. I want him to be the fourth guy. I want him to be the one that you have to beat before you get to me.
I love it, dude. Secretly, he's just packing some crazy heat.
I just want him to secretly he's just like an insane, just unreal battler. I want him to be in there.
That'd be sweet.
And then who would I want the fourth one to be? Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many good. There's, maybe we'll just do Leon. If you can get past Leon, you deserve to win.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair.
I love it, dude.
Fair. So it goes Steven, then Ethan, and then Leon, and then the champ in the making guy.
Yeah. The champ in the making guy.
Let's be honest. He's probably the best player in the whole game. He's at every gym in every generation, every time. He's probably insane.
Yeah. His scouting report is probably crazy. What would be cool to see with him is that, we've talked about this with other people before, is that obviously the big thing that Pokemon always does in all their games is all the gym leaders and Elite Four members have their monotype teams. So it'd be cool to see a guy have like a hyper offensive like attacking team or more like a kind of a competitive strategy where or maybe they lean more into physical attack or it's just like a super fast team. So instead of just like, cool. Hey, this Elite Four member is like steel type specialist. It's like, hey, this Elite Four member is like special attack, and it's just going to hit you that way, super, or like something like that, or like a trick room team. I don't know. It'd be cool to see him do that.
This is the competitor in me, the VGC player in me. I would love it if they made like a game where it was all double battles, and like the gym leaders like actually had like some competent like strategy to them. Like I thought the double battle in Sword and Shield, I forget his name. He's like the 7th gym leader or something, the 8th gym leader. But
Ryan,
Ryan. He uses like a doubles team with like a weather combo. Yeah, and I thought that was so cool. I would love something like that, like an actual like really challenging. Like it doesn't have to be like hard to beat, but if it was like double battles, gym leaders and stuff had like legit like strategies to their teams, I think that'd be really cool.
Well, supposedly in this in Indigo Disc, it's going to be all double battles, and some of them have like some more competitive builds to them. From what I've heard,
I've heard that, and I mean I've heard before that like, oh, this is going to be like the hardest
I know, right?
thing
Yeah.
you've ever.
They
This
say
is gonna be
that.
the hardest thing you've ever done. And then like I show up with one level 100, and I'm able to just like beat everybody.
Right.
And
So
so
hopefully that's true.
yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's true. Hopefully it is really hard. I like in the teal mask there was like the ogre clan. I don't know if you guys played it.
Yeah.
There's like there's the ogre clan that they're like hidden around the island, and they're really hard to beat. They're tough. They have some really strong Pokemon, like level 70s and stuff, and it was pretty tough. So if it's like that and like everything's double battle and there's something like I could see that being pretty difficult, which I'm looking forward to.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
I haven't played it yet, but like I've seen clips and things where it's just like it's fun to see like the little things that they're adding in there, and hopefully they'll hear our cries for something more, right?
And I don't really have a whole big issue with like the general skill level of like the base games, like because for me it's not about how hard is it to beat something or how hard can it be to win this game, because for me it's all about like finding the new Pokemon. That's what I care about the most. Like a new generation, I'm not like hopefully they have hardness difficulties that I can choose from, like easy, medium, hard.
Yeah.
So I don't like just blow through this. I'm just like, I hope everything is as easy as possible, and I want to catch the coolest Pokemon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just hope there's cool Pokemon, and I hope there's a cool story, which I really, really, really liked Scarlet and Violet.
It was really good.
Cool Pokemon, and the story is probably the best story I've ever seen. Like,
they really upped the ante
like,
with it.
I literally was like in tears as the game was ending.
Oh yeah.
They're like, let's take the long way home. Have some more adventure. I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Like, okay. Yeah, dude, they honestly killed it with the story on this last one. I think a lot of people were fairly impressed with it. So
the cutscenes were so cool.
Yeah, they were good.
The cutscenes, the character development on all the characters. That's
the
what
music
I care about.
killed it.
The music.
Oh
my
OST.
gosh. When I first stepped into Area 0 and it's like
it's like, what is it, a Zelda game or something, dude?
I was like, all of a sudden I was like mystified. I was transported to like this mysterious, mystical place.
Yeah.
Like a feeling that I hadn't had since like playing Emerald for the first time as a kid, where you go get Rayquaza and then it's like the organ's like and Rayquaza's like
yeah, dude. Yep.
Little cutscene. I was like, as a kid, I was like, this is the coolest game ever.
Yeah.
And then, like, as I descend into Area 0, and it's just like this mystical, ancient place. Like, what's going on? Everything's run down. Something's not right. I was like totally transported back to being a kid. Just totally blown away. It was still my favorite OST and my favorite place probably in any Pokemon game, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Area 0, that place is sick.
Well, it was so cool having like the Elite Four not be the end game. Like you still had to go down into Area 0.
Yeah.
Like that was the end game. Yeah,
like all your friends that you had to beat.
Oh
all their stories, and then like they all comes together, and you're like, so good. It's so good.
And I'll say it's probably one of my favorite Elite Four themes. Like in like several generations. If you don't remember it, like look it up. Like the Elite Four theme for this one, it's like hype. Like it sounds it's hype. It sounds like a boss Pokemon theme, and it's yeah, dude, it was good. And for all the people that were complaining about like graphical stuff or the playability, in my playthrough, dude, I honestly did not have any game breaking issues. Like,
I mean, I would maybe get a couple frames every now and then as I pass into a town. You like, and then you just that for me that I don't care. Literally couldn't care less.
Well, I'm not playing Pokemon for the insane graphics and whatever. I'm playing it for the gameplay itself, and I thought,
but it's like I have a friend who's like, that's a really big thing for him.
Interesting, yeah.
Like I don't really know why. Like it's such a huge thing for him, but for him, like performance is everything. Like the game better run at 60 FPS, 4K, smooth as butter,
and if not,
cold as ice all day long, every day. Or I'm gonna be upset about the frames that I drop.
Right.
And I just don't care. I really just don't care. Like people are complaining, like, "Oh my gosh, I fell through the map." I'm like, "That's probably pretty silly."
That's hilarious. Yeah,
it makes me laugh. That just makes me have good memories.
You're just like running through the map, and all of a sudden you're like, ah! Or like
okay.
what they'll show their clips of like, this game is like, the performance on this game is horrible, and it's like them like throwing their Pokemon into a battle and it falls off a cliff.
So funny.
I laugh every time. I'm like, oh no, Marie.
Or it's like clipped into the ground or something like that. So it's like an executor, and you see like the coconut heads on top, like sticking out of the ground.
I think it's so funny.
Yeah,
my favorite is when you enter a battle, like riding your like Koraidon or Miraidon, and you're like just hovering in midair because for some reason the frame glitches out. It's just not there anymore.
It's so funny. Yeah,
I think stuff like that is funny, and I it doesn't distract me from like the gameplay or the video game. Like, I think for maybe for some people it's an immersion thing. Like, the stutter in the game breaks them from their immersion of the Pokemon world, which I mean, if that's you, I guess that's fair. Like, we all want to be as immersed as possible. That's why we try to make our characters like look like us.
Yeah.
But I'm here for like the cool Pokemon, the cool designs, the new characters, and the story. That's my thing. That's my jam.
For sure. Speaking of that, we got one last shower thought for you before we wrap up. So mine for you is, if you could change an ability or add one to an existing Pokemon, either to make them cooler, funner to use, more competitively viable, whatever your agenda is, what mon would you improve and what ability would you give them? Like, a good example is, I know like Shiftry got Wind Rider, right?
Right.
So like you use Tailwind and you basically just Dragon Dance for your Shiftry.
Right, exactly, which is so sick. I love Wind Rider. Brambleghast actually is so sick.
Brambleghast is dope, yeah.
But I have a really bad habit of picking my favorite Pokemon, and they are like the worst Pokemon ever competitively. Like, they are just the most abhorrent, terrible Pokemon you could ever imagine to use in a competitive format. They always end up being my favorite every generation. Like, oh, this thing's my favorite, and it's like, it sucks so bad.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, I have two, but I'd probably pick. I'll say both, but I'll make it quick. But my first one will be Typhlosion, because because they gave it Charizard stats, which is unfair. They should have made it better than Charizard. And then they gave Charizard the way better ability. So, I mean, Typhlosion has the same exact stats, but it gets Blaze and Flash Fire, which is just like, it sucks so bad. Like, if I could do anything to change Typhlosion, literally all I would change is maybe 10 more in special attack, 10 more in speed, change its ability to solar power. That Pokemon all of a sudden becomes an actual threat in the sun. Like, that thing
with Eruption, it's nutty.
Exactly. All of a sudden you're pumping out eruptions with solar power, charcoal in the sun. And you actually have to respect this thing. But because it only has 100 base speed, which is so weird to say because that used to be really fast.
You're right.
And now that's pretty like mid.
It's average, yeah.
And then it only has 100 special attack, which is just not that great. And with Flash Fire, like, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And I thought they were. And I had a moment of hope, a glimmer of hope, that they were going to do Cyndaquil right in Legends Arceus, and then they made it worse. They made it slower with a really crappy special signature move, a terrible typing, and I just like, I was so disappointed. I was like, yes, dude. I was like, finally, they're gonna give this thing a new form. It's gonna be so sick. They'll probably like update it, make it something good, and then they just made it like even worse than the other one. And I was so sad.
Yeah, it's too bad.
And then the next one I would do would be Swampert.
Swampert,
Swampert used to be a total monster when it had a Mega Evolution.
Oh yeah,
like Mega Swampert in the rain was a huge threat. Like, stab earthquakes, stab waterfalls, ice punches for coverage, huge HP, great defenses, great attack. Like, that thing was a monster. So if I could just like change Swampert a little bit, just to kind of like give it Swift Swim, give that back, because that actually would actually still be really good, even if it just got Swift Swim, because it still has really good defenses and really good bulk. And then just give it just like 10, 20 more in attack, and I think it becomes usable.
Yeah, I like that. You're telling me Damp isn't getting the job done for you?
Yeah, I mean, so Explosion is such a common and really great move in
Right.
VGC that we use it so often.
So you gotta
have
run.
to have it.
You gotta have Damp Swamper in there. So I mean, yeah,
Damp is so bad.
yeah,
dude.
it's so
We could have
funny.
gave it literally
See-
anything else. Storm Drain
See,
would have been cool.
Storm Drain,
I-
right?
I
Yeah,
think-
yeah. I mean,
I think Damp should be kind of like Sandspit. I think you get hit and it starts up rain.
See, that would even be better. That'd even be better than what it is now. I'd take that.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, give it those little bit of changes. But
something.
I just have a really bad habit of hating that. Like, I see the Pokemon, I'm like, oh man, I hate this thing, and then it turns out to be like the best Pokemon in the whole format.
Yeah.
And then like I'm like, oh, I love this thing, and it's the worst one. So then I'm forced to use the one that I hate the most. I'm like, I hate this thing. I hate its design. I hate how it looks. I hate its stats.
But I have to use it.
But I have to freaking use it because it's the best thing.
That's so funny.
All right. Well, thanks so much, man, for joining us today. Again, we just want to shout you out for your victory in 2017, for your continued insights and triumphs here, in the current meta. And really quick, before we wrap up, we just want to kind of give you a second to plug anything that you're, doing, any teasing that you want to do for your personal stuff. And then also, if you want to leave the people with some nuggets of wisdom, anything, what can be Pokemon, it can be real life related, whatever you want to leave us with, and then we'll wrap up after that.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to plug right now. I used to upload pretty frequently on YouTube, but then I had my daughter, and I had to switch gears to that. With 3 kids, I haven't had much time or quiet to make YouTube videos.
Makes sense.
And so I don't really have that, but I am planning to attend a regional tournament this year. So if you're going to be going to the Portland Regional in January, hopefully I'm able to show up and see you guys there.
That'd be sweet.
If any of you guys see me and want to say hi, I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to chat. That's my favorite thing to do at tournaments, is meet new friends.
Awesome.
And then a nugget of wisdom for Pokemon is play your game. Don't play somebody else's. That's like my biggest learning thing is play your game. You don't have to play Wolf's game. You don't have to play Joe UX9's game. You can play your game, and that's okay. You can learn from them. They have a lot of wisdom, but you can still be you. And then in real life, I would say my word of wisdom is do everything do the things that you love, and do them with everything that you got. Because if you can do everything, like my 2 businesses, I just did things that I love, and I did it as hard as I could, and I've been able to make those things a reality. So there's your wisdom for real life.
I love it, man.
I love it, man. I love it. That's great. Well, again, we just want to thank you again. It was awesome having you on. And
it was a lot of fun, actually. I had a blast. Lots of fun.
Glad.
It's awesome. And everyone, again, also feel free to follow us and subscribe to SnoozeVGC or Preston Clark on YouTube as well, Twitter, all his locations. We'll put those in the show notes. Also, feel free to give us a follow, subscribe, keep in touch, keep up with what we're doing. We're going to keep, reaching out to awesome people who love the Pokemon community. We love, kind of doing this and getting to know awesome people. And until next time, this is Logan, Josh, and Snooze or Preston signing off. We'll see you guys.
See you guys.